this is Bill Kenower, and I'm doing something a little different this month. I interviewed the fabulous author Stephen P. Kiernan a few months ago for his book, The Glass Chateau. Great conversation. It was a long one. If you want to listen to the full conversation, you can do so in the link I posted here. He, in the middle of this interview, he tells a fantastic story about how a certain idea for a novel he was writing came to him. And it's just a great example of the way we follow, how intuition and our guidance and just life in general can inform our art. And I thought it deserved its own video. And so, without further ado, here is Stephen's story about inspiration. Enjoy. You know, I think it's a lovely thing, and it's so cool that the Curiosity is your first novel. That was the first novel after writing your that's the first work of fiction.
Yes.
You discovered really the secret, Stephen, which is you don't know. You don't know. You don't really know. And you discovered it accidentally, and you honored it because it's so important as an artist to acknowledge you don't really know, but something else does, and your job is to find out and discover and follow it. And that you learned it in your first novel. Hats off to you, because for a lot of, sometimes for beginning-ish, you weren't a beginning writer, but you were a beginning novelist. That was a newer pursuit. There is a sense of like, hey, who's in charge here, buddy? You know, daddy's in charge. And you're really not. Not at all.
I mean, no, was Il Doctorow says that, I think it's Il Doctorow, he says that writing a novel is like driving to Philadelphia at night, right? You can only see as far as your headlights and the major turns. It's definitely true. And even, can I tell a story?
Sure. Amen. Yeah.
Okay, so this is sort of how I think in story. Okay, so I got a residency fellowship to an artist colony in France. And I wanted to go over to see, really cool, right? Yeah. That's like not my daily life at all. I work in my basement in my house in Vermont. Okay.
Right.
So I'm psyched to go over there because I want to see the windows of the stained glass windows of Marc Chagall are an important part of the Glass Chateau.
Yeah.
And so I've studied on these things. I've got the best, book of photographs, but it's like this big when, the windows are 25 feet or 22 feet by 6
Plus,
feet.
you're not experiencing this. You cannot replicate the light through a stained glass window. It's impossible. It's impossible.
That's right. And so I'm headed over there, very excited about it. And Tavia Kowalczyk, who is a marketing director, I think she has a bigger title than that, but she's a marketing person at HarperCollins, and she's my friend. And she says, when you go over there, take a lot of pictures and post them on social media. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. That's too show-offy. And she said, no, people think writers have interesting lives, even though most of it's just sitting at a keyboard. You should take pictures. People will like it. So the first day I get there, I'm taking pictures of Paris as I'm getting on the train to get out to Reims, the city that has these windows and this cathedral. The outside of the cathedral, when I get there, it's closed, but I get pictures and I'm posting them. And she was right. Like hundreds of people are liking these posts.
Oh, nice.
And one guy says, hey, it must be nice. Everyone else there's the human nature, right? But most people were incredibly nice about it. And there was a mistake in the hotel arrangements so that I was kind of on the outskirts of town. There wasn't Uber or taxi service there. It was about a 40-minute walk to the cathedral in kind of the middle of town. Like it was an inconvenience.
Right.
So I'm taking lots of pictures. I'm posting them. And I've sort of seen what I need to see. The cathedral they started building it in the year 818. Right. It's like gigantic old cathedral. Took 5
Americans, we can't even, it means
we have no idea.
No idea. I know.
And the windows there, were all destroyed during the war, and they've been rebuilt since then. It's this amazing place. And some of the statues that have the faces blown off, they've left them that way as kind of memories. Like it's very powerful, right? And I've been posting all these pictures, and people have been great. So the last night, it's raining. It's actually the afternoon, mid-afternoon, and I'm writing, and I come to a scene. It's pouring rain, and I come to a scene where.
Are you writing this book? You're writing this.
I'm writing this book, first draft. Okay.
First draft.
So I'm really writing. I'm just following my headlights, and I get to the scene where two guys are probably going to have a fight, and one of them thinks that he's like really strong and he's very passionate, he's very determined, and the other guy who's kind of not emaciated, but he's still like recovering from starving during the war and
Right.
stuff. But he happens to be a trained assassin. So he's already figured out like 3 different ways he can kill that other guy really fast. But it means he'll be revealed as an assassin to everyone, which he doesn't want. And he also doesn't want to kill any more people. And so he's really in this dilemma. And meanwhile, the other guy's like, I'm ready to punch it, and the scene is out of control. And so I think what now every self-respecting novelist does in a moment like that. I close the file and check my email. And I have an email from Tavia. And the email says, I'm loving these photos. These are so great. I hope you're also shooting lots of video. And I go, video. And I can hear the rain just like against my window. So it's my last day there. And when you're in a foreign country and you're in a place and you're leaving the next day, you may never be back in your life.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
you won't be, right?
Yep.
For me anyway, I'm not going to be back in that city again. And so okay, what the hell? So I close the computer and I go walking across the town, and it's 40 minutes of walking in the rain. And I'm kind of grumbling and like, I hope this is worth it. And, I have all this attitude about it. And I get to the cathedral, and it was in late October, and they do daylight savings earlier in France, which I hadn't known. So it's virtually dark. There's not going to be any light coming through these windows.
Right.
I get to the cathedral and they have outside lights shining on it, which I think stops at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So it's just like that. So maybe there'll be some light. I don't know. And I go inside the place. The doors are 20 feet tall and, thick wooden things. And I go inside, and instantly I know, even just in the foyer, the atmosphere is different from when I was there before. And I stick my head around with the door into the main church, and instead of the big lights overhead and light coming into the windows, there are a couple of low kind of sconces on the posts, and there are about 3,000 candles. And at the front of this church, turns out, there are a bunch of, I knew this, I didn't know this about this place, but there are a bunch of cities in Europe that have these fantastic children's choirs. Like the Vienna Boys Choir,
right?
Like
right, sure.
Yeah. This cathedral is one of those places, and there are 80, 70, 60, a ton of kids at the front, and they're singing. Right? You already get it. I'm goosebumps. I can't believe it. It's like one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. I stay, I take pictures, I take videos. Other things happen during that are just amazing. The parents are bored. They're like, when's rehearsal end? I'm just like hanging on every note. It's so beautiful. I shoot all these videos of like the entire ceiling of the place coming to rest on some little girl who's singing her solo. It's just so amazing.
Wow.
And I text it to Tavia, who's 6 hours earlier in New York City at work. And, a minute later, she texts me back like, I'm crying at my desk. It's that beautiful, right?
Wow.
So it ends, and the rehearsal ends, and I go walking out in this rainy night. It's like, what a great experience I just had. And I go and I get a dinner at this place, just like this little basic dinner. And then I take the walk 40 minutes back to my hotel room, and I open up the computer, and I have the 2 guys about to fight, and then they hear something. They go inside the cathedral, and it's the first rehearsal of the choir being newly formed by this bombed out cathedral, and it's 12 kids singing.
And it felt real to you. You didn't feel like you didn't, it felt like it just had to happen.
Absolutely. That was what's going to happen. That's why they were not going to fight. And what happens, they listen to the choir, the kids, for 5 minutes. And then the guy who's being all belligerent says, I got to get back to work, and leaves. Right. And they don't fight. And it wasn't a concoction. The world gave me what I needed.
Great. That's great, man.
So you say like, we don't know, and we can be woo-woo, but I can tell you, like, God bless Tavia, because I still have that video.
Yeah, but you know what? You didn't have to go for the walk. What I always think is you can call it what you want, but it's guidance. In other words, look, I don't know how to write your book. Only you know how to write your book. Like, you're the only one who can do it. And so you got to listen to something. You got to listen to something that says, not that word, this word. Stop writing, start. I mean, there's a certain thing we're following. And for me, when I follow the guidance, it feels good. When I resist it, it feels bad. It's how I know. And you listened. You did your part, right?
Yes. I think what also happens anytime that you push and the book pushes back.
Yeah.
And what it means, and take some humility. Is it's like, oh, I want this to be this kind of book, but it's not. I was wrong. It's something else. And it's amazing how often what Carl Jung said, something to the effect of, don't worry about the rabbit being in the hat. Your subconscious put it there a long time ago. And I really feel that. And often when I'm in a predicament where I've written myself into a corner in some kind of dilemma, I go back and I go, hey, that character who walked out, he needs to walk back in now.
Right.
Or something is there.
Right.
The rabbit is in the hat. And if you just can have faith in that, then it's okay to just say, well, I was wrong. At this scene, they're not going to fight.
Yeah.
Instead, they're going to hear children sing.